Good evening. I'd like to call Craig City Council to order December 20th, 2022. Roll call, please.
Mr. Fuller.
Here.
Mr. Coleman.
Here.
Ms. Materney. Here. Mr. McCarthy. Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mr. Van Duzen.
Here.
Mr. Weber.
Here. Please join me for the call and stand the pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Minutes of the council meeting for December 6th.
Thank you, Mayor. I believe everyone has received a copy of the December 6th meeting minutes. If there are no objections, we'll consider those passed.
No objections. We have no special reports, letters, communication, citizens communication. If anyone has something to say, and before you do that,
Jim Hagan, 10741 Avenue Road. Just a quick thank you to all of you. A little appreciation is in front of your desk
Jim
tonight.
gave us our annual homemade candy.
The only thing I would ask is,
Thank you.
if when you're done, you get the tins back to me before Thanksgiving of next year, you'll get them returned to you around this time again. So thank you. I would stay for the meeting tonight, but my daughter Allie is flying in from Australia, so I'm headed to the airport. So you guys have a good day.
Thanks for having us.
administrative reports. On that note, we would like to wish everybody a very happy holidays. I have 3 appointments. Can we do them all at one time? All right. Daniel Judson for Historic Landmarks Commission, Michael Deal for Street Tree Commission, and Lori Amarzita Cadadavid. Close enough to the margin of error. I apologize for that. Litter Prevention and Recycling Board.
With those names, I would like to make a motion to approve those board appointments.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Coleman.
Yes.
Ms. Materney. Yes. Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Van Duzen.
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
Mr. Fuller.
Yes.
One other item of business by the Mayor. I would like to appoint a new Public Safety Director. And I'd like to appoint Patrick Jones to that position.
I will make a motion to appoint Patrick Jones as a Public Safety Director.
Second.
Any discussion?
Almost threw the chief in there, but I know that.
Roll call.
Ms. Materney. Yes. Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Van Duzen.
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
Mr. Fuller.
Yes.
Mr. Coleman.
Yes.
Why don't you come up and we'll swear you.
No take backsies.
Or change his mind. Thank you. I state your name.
I, Patrick Jones,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and that of the state of Ohio,
and that of the state of Ohio,
that I will obey the laws and ordinances of the city of Perrysburg,
that I will obey the laws and ordinances of the city of Perrysburg,
familiarize myself with,
familiarize myself with,
and be obedient to the rules and regulations and orders of the Perrysburg Department of Public Safety,
and be obedient to the
rules and
rules and regulations
orders of the Perrysburg Department of Public Safety, and faithfully serve the city of Perrysburg
and faithfully serve the city of Perrysburg
in the discharge of my duties
in the discharge of my duties
as the Director of Public Safety
as Director of Public Safety
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dad.
Get a photo with your family up here too.
Yeah.
Yes.
So listen.
Mine. You got a family got to come up here for a photo. Marie's right out there with the camera. She believe it or not, this is the mom.
It's all done.
Thank you.
Thank you, and we do want to thank your family because it is a team effort, and we appreciate that, and we appreciate their willingness to sacrifice some time with their dad and spouse to help them serve the city of Perrysburg. So thank you so very much. That ends my report. City Administrator.
Just happy holidays to everybody, and I look forward to working with Pat in the future. I'll continue to work with Pat.
Finance Director.
I have no report today.
All right. President of Council.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a quick executive session I'm going to be making a motion for. You don't have to worry, it's not going to be too long for everyone out here. But I would like to make a motion to move into executive session to discuss security matters.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Matroni? Yes. Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Van Duzen?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
We'll go into executive session. Let's just go on.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too long. I'll make a motion to return from executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All righty. Finance and President Council.
That's the end of my report.
Thank you. Finance and Economic Development.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Finance Committee met on December 13th and again this evening, about 6:20 for a short meeting. On December 13th, the meeting was called at about 5:37. Chairman Mark Weber, all the committee members were present, along with Amber Rathburn, Finance Director, Kayla Trego, Deputy Finance Director, and Marie Dunn was present, our Public Information Officer. There being no objections, the minutes of the November 8th meeting were approved. And approval of then and now purchases. Then and now purchases were presented for approval. Ms. Rathburn explained that the Finance Department continues to work with staff to limit these. And there being no objections, this is recommended on the City Council 3-0. Fees charged by the city to promoters of special events. I explained that Patrick Jones, Police Chief, and now Safety Director, will be at the Finance Committee meeting in January to explain when he feels there is a need for officers at special events. Mr. Smith spoke with the City Administrator, Maumee, and learned that fees for service and police are waived for nonprofits and large-scale community events that occur annually. He also reported that the City of Rossford does not charge for police or services for large events such as their annual Stroll in the Streets event. Mr. Smith stated that we need to revisit some of these events that are large-scale or a benefit for the community and to assess what fees are being charged. I suggested that perhaps these events should be placed in categories to determine which ones are an advantage to the community as a whole and how the city should determine what to charge the event organizers. I add that there are certain events that bring the community together and are long-term benefit to the city as well. Mr. McCarthy stated that there should be certain criteria for the events that are city related. Mr. Smith stated that Adam Cassie from Toledo, Lucas County Beautiful, Toledo, Lucas County Beautiful wants to bring something similar to Perrysburg, and they are looking to possibly do a presentation to the Service Committee. Mr. Smith added that they can also do composting and recycling, which we are not doing currently for events. I stated that the CVB was running the farmers market at revenue neutral until the additional charges showed up, which is what sparked the discussion about the CVB wanting to drop running the farmers market. I added that this is important to find out from Chief Jones just how much police presence is needed for the various events. The committee will keep this on the agenda for January to have a conversation with Bridget Cabot and Chief Jones. Finance Director's report, the expenditures above $5,000. Mr. McCarthy asked about the pension payments on the report. As far as matching and deductions, Ms. Rathburn explained that the deductions are what is withheld from employees' paychecks and then forwarded on to the pension, and the matching is the city's expense. In the health insurance fund, Ms. Rathburn stated the health insurance fund has a balance of $1.2 million. Mr. Smith asked about the fund being as healthy as it is, if there are any thoughts of reducing the contributions. Ms. Rathburn stated that they left the contributions even for next year. She added that they pay claims weekly and that can vary drastically. Ms. Rathburn stated that this is something she can talk to Savage and Associates about later in 2023. For our city seal, Ms. Dunn was present to put updating the city seal back on the committee's radar. She has talked to the designer and they are very excited that they are talking about this again. I stated that the Commodore looks better, and I think it's an improvement that the seal includes Fort Meigs as well. Ms. Dunn is hoping to get it approved before Winterfest, that the new city seal could be carved in ice. I asked if it would go on the side of vehicles. Ms. Dunn stated that it will mostly go on the letters from the city administration and that the new logo has been going on the city vehicles recently. Ms. Dunn will be taking this to the other committees. There being no objections, this is being recommended 3-0 to City Council. In other business, Mr. Smith made a motion to enter into the executive session to discuss security matters. The committee returned at 6:28 and there was no further business. The meeting was adjourned at 6:29. In tonight's meeting, we discussed three ordinances that we'll be introducing tonight about the expenses that were not anticipated need to be legislatively authorized, and the amendments to the budget to the account for the revenues in excess of what was anticipated. And then our other ordinance is just to authorize certain cash transfers also to do all housekeeping items that's done at this time every year. So I have 2 resolutions and 3 ordinances, and if there's no objections, I'll introduce the 3 housekeeping ordinances together. Yeah. So starting off, I would like to introduce Resolution 105-2022 and move that the rules be suspended to allow for its reading by number and title only, and to dispense with the second and third readings.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Matroni?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Resolution 105, 2022, resolution to approve then and now certificates in the amount of $79,995.79 as attached in Exhibit A for the city of Perrysburg and declaring an emergency.
I move that Resolution 105-2022 be passed as an emergency measure.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Van Huzen?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Matroni? Mr. Smith?
Yes.
I would like to introduce Resolution 108-2022 and move that the rules be suspended to allow for its reading by number and title only, and to dispense with the second and third readings.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Matroni?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Resolution 108, 2022, resolution authorizing an amendment to the purchase of insurance through Ohio Clean Risk Management, Inc. at a cost not to exceed $241,264 and declaring an emergency.
I move that Resolution 108-2022 be passed as an emergency measure.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Matroni?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen?
Yes.
I would like to introduce ordinances 63, 64, and 65-2022 and move that the rules be suspended to allow for their readings by number and title only, and to dispense with the second and third readings.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Matroni?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Ordinance 63, 2002. Amending 2022. Amending city budget ordinance by authorizing certain additions to appropriations for the year ending December 31st, 2022, and declaring an emergency. Ordinance 64, 2022, amending the city budget ordinance to revise the estimated revenues for the year ending December 31st, 2022, and declaring an emergency. Ordinance 65, 2022, authorizing certain cash transfers within the city's budget and declaring an emergency.
I move that ordinances 63, 64, and 65-2022 be passed as emergency measures.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Matroni?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes. The next Finance and Economic Development Committee will meet Tuesday, January 10th at 5:30 p.m. And I'd like to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And I'd like to wish Mayor Mackin a happy birthday. My report.
Thank you. Safety Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We do not have a report. Our next scheduled meeting will be January 24th at 6 p.m. in 2023. And happy birthday, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. I guess that's out there. All right, Recreation Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. I do not have a report as well. Our next scheduled meeting is January 10th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. And are you going to have to pay a fine in order to not have to sing happy birthday to all of us? Is that how this works?
No, you guys are all going to pay me not to sing. I heard me sing.
That's in my report.
Thank you very much. Who's doing planning and zoning?
Go ahead.
All right, so in the absence of Councilman McCarthy, I'll go ahead and read the minutes to you. So the meeting was held December 7th, the meeting was called to order at 5:31. President Work, Barry Matthews, and myself. Councilman McCarthy arrived at 5:49, also President Jody Walters and Mark Easterling. There were no citizen concerns. The prior meeting's minutes were approved. Consider the appointment of Daniel Justin to the Historic Landmarks Commission. We discussed that in executive session for a while and ultimately recommended him to council in a 3-0 recommendation. Then we talked about the car wash moratorium. Mr. Walters explained that what kicked us off recently is that at the property where Social Restaurant used to be, the city received a site plan from a design firm for a cash.
This would be a car wash.
Or there's supposed to be a car wash on that property instead of cash for it. Mr. Easterling stated that there are 7 car washes in the city of Perrysburg and an additional 5 within a 1-mile radius of the city. Mr. Easterling added that he fears if there are an abundance of car washes, the city could eventually have an abandoned car wash on a prime piece of property that cannot be repurposed. Mr. Kuhlman asked if the moratorium is common for car washes or even gas stations. Mr. Easterling stated that it depends on the city's outlook on it and that it can be. He added that a moratorium is not a permanent ban on them, just means that the city does not want any more right now until we see how the market unfolds. Mr. Van Hoosen asked if we have a moratorium on anything right now, or asked if we currently have a moratorium on anything right now. Mr. Walters and Mr. Easterling confirmed that we do not have any. Mr. McCarthy is inclined to enact a car wash moratorium. I asked if the moratorium is actually necessary. Mr. Easterling stated that they could do a code amendment and add that it has to be reviewed by city council, but that council would also have to be okay with saying no. Mr. Walters added that they have not, would have to establish criteria as a basis to say no to, and citing a specific reason why it would not qualify. The committee agreed 3-0 to recommend a car wash moratorium with city council. In other business, I asked if there needs to be an action on the HLC appeal that was heard by the city council, or how it should be handled. Mr. McCarthy stated that the city would have to notify the Huskissons if council intends to take action. I made a recommendation to specify that Mr. and Mrs. Huskinson either reapply to the HLC for approval or comply with the HLC's prior decision within the first 90 days of the year. Mr. Walters will notify the Huskinsons. This is being recommended 3-0 to city council. Mr. Walters noted that with Ford canceling orders, the city had previously put in an order for 3 Ford hybrid Escapes, but Ford canceled those orders and told the city that it needs to reorder these vehicles. He stated that to reorder, the prices have gone up and are not completely equal cars to what they had ordered previously. Mr. Walters will have to start the process to get the purchase orders revised. Mr. Walters asked for legislation to increase the purchase order. I would not have a problem with changing that before it gets to city council, and then noted that the city could keep track of the difference between the new and old contracts because litigation that is already pending could call for it at some point. I added that this city could shop for brands for other than Ford. There being no further business, we adjourn the meeting at 6:17. Next meeting is Wednesday, January 4th at 5:30 p.m. in the new year. With that, I believe we have one piece of legislation. I believe that I would like to introduce Resolution 106-2022 and move that the rules be suspended to allow for reading by number and title only and to dispense with the second and third readings.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Fuller.
Yes.
Mr. Coleman.
Yes.
Ms. Matroni.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Van Buzen.
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
Resolution 106-2022, resolution amending Resolution 18-2022, and authorizing a change order to the agreement in an amount not to exceed $1,542 for the purchase of 3 2022 Ford Escape vehicles for the Division of Planning and Zoning and declaring an emergency.
I move that Resolution 106-2022 be passed as an emergency measure.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Coleman.
Yes.
Ms. Matroni.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Van Buzen.
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
Mr. Fuller.
Yes.
Nothing else, other than happy birthday from Councilman McCarthy, who surely would have wished you a happy
I'm
birthday.
sure he would have.
Now, next, sorry.
Personnel Committee.
No report, but I do have a piece of legislation. So with that, I'd like to introduce Resolution 109-2022, and move that the rules be suspended to allow for its reading by number and title only, and to dispense with the second and third readings.
Roll call?
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Matroni?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Resolution 109, 2022, a resolution authorizing an increase for certain City of Perrysburg non-bargaining unit employees and declaring an emergency.
I move that Resolution 109-2022 be passed as an emergency measure.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, a little bit. I think we should kind of go on the record for this a little bit. So I believe there was a need that was identified, and this is kind of an expansion on a pre-existing role. Would that be fair to say?
Correct.
If you don't mind walking us through, or perhaps Roby can walk us through, because what we're doing is allowing for more than a 5% pay increase. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, his role on job description is being changed. So it isn't, the position has already been expanded and changed, so it isn't necessarily just a rate increase for current duties. It is an expansion of duties that directly anticipate receiving additional compensation for additional work performed.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure we went on, kind of on to explain why additional compensation is being allocated to the planning and zoning administrator. It's my expectation, I plan to support this. It's my expectation that those additional roles do not affect the job that is currently being performed. I think our planning and zoning department is a very effective department within the city of Perrysburg. So I don't want to see these additional roles decline or make that decline. And I'm looking forward to seeing the extra time you put in and the positive outcomes that will come with it, I'm sure. So.
And I spoke with Mr. Walters earlier, and he'll be attending, maybe be a regular attendee of our Finance and Economic Development Committee meetings when there's things to report.
So I guess I would just wonder, and you guys can tell me if this is something we should or shouldn't do, but I know we got that attachment regarding the additional duties for planning and zoning. Do you think it would be imperative to add that as an exhibit B to this resolution, just so that way we have something to cite as to the reason, additional justification, in case everybody looks back at a later time?
I'm fine with that. That's honestly, I appreciate the administration getting this together to support this. I think we were kind of all on the same page in identifying where we have current needs or we would like to expand and see explored as far as economic development and planning and zoning opportunities. And I think this succinctly explains why that role is being expanded and the compensation that goes with it. So I would not be opposed to that unless the administration has some.
Nope, that's perfectly fine.
I'll make a
We're trying to
motion
find it right now.
to add that in as exhibit B to resolution 109.
Sorry.
So this pending is you make a motion to add it?
Yeah.
All right, so pending before council is the motion to add the rationale to the resolution. Any other discussion on that? If not, roll call.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Matroni?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
All right, any other discussion on resolution 109, 2022? If not, roll call with the resolution with the attachment to it.
Ms. Matroni?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. Good luck.
Or condolences, whatever you.
Yeah, or condolences. We appreciate
We
you.
don't have a swearing in thing or bands or anything, but we appreciate it.
I'm really excited to see how that plays out. So I have nothing further other than happy birthday, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Public utilities?
I have no report, Mr. Mayor. We did reschedule, actually canceled November and December's meetings. We also won't reconvene meetings on January 25th at 6:30, but I do have one piece of legislation this evening. So I'd like to introduce Resolution 107-2022, move the rules be suspended, allow for its reading by number and title only, and dispense with the second and third readings.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Matroni? Yes. Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Resolution 107, 2022, authorizing an agreement with Senegro Central LLC for biosolid management services.
Move that resolution 107-2022 be passed.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Matroni?
Yes.
Happy birthday, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much for returning.
Nothing else.
I appreciate unanimity on that issue. Just happy to be here. Service Committee.
I do have a report to give today. We actually met December 7th. The president were myself, Kevin Fuller, Mark Weber, Bridget Cabot, and Brian Thomas. No citizen concerns. Approval, there was no objections to the minutes from the 26th, so they were sent on to the approved 3-0. Laura from Wood Creek Court had applied to fill the student's vacancy on Litter Prevention Recycling Board. Mr. Weber stated that it was a very nice application and is grateful that she is willing to come forward and provide service. Mr. Fuller is excited for her and thanked her for stepping forward. Ms. Matroni thanked Ms. Laura and that she appreciates her applying. There being no objections, Laura is being recommended 3-0 to fill a vacancy. Student vacancy on Litter and Recycling Board.
We already did all those, so you can just kind of.
Oh, okay. And then we approved the next appointment, award design services for State Route 25 MUP from UDI to Indiana Avenue. This is an agreement with Tetra Tech for engineering services for 10-foot asphalt multi-use path on the west side of Dixie Highway and west-south boundary from just north of State Route 25, Dixie Highway to Bridget Diamond Interchange to Indiana Avenue, State Route 65. The project will be funded in part by TMACOG Transportation Alternate Grants. Mr. Thomas explained that they awarded funds, but unfortunately was pushed back for the fiscal year 2025. Mr. Thomas added that they would have to have railroad approval from CSX before they can do work on the trail and line crossing. Mr. Fuller asked if there's still money in the budget for this. Ms. Cabot answered that there's money in the budget for the design. There being no objections, the committee agreed 3-0 to send to recommend to City Council for approval of the design services for State Route 25 multi-use path from DDI to Indiana Avenue. Permission for DPS to purchase a snow blower. This is for the purchase of a John Deere tractor for the Department of Public Service, which will have a heavy-duty 2-stage snow blower attachment for clearing snow from over 7 miles of citywide sidewalks during the winter months. The current unit is over 25 years old and is not reliable any longer. Ms. Cabot stated that we will not be getting the mower attachment, just the blower attachment. She added, though, that in the future they could purchase the mower attachment and it could be put into the fleet with the mowers as well. Mr. Fuller asked how it does in the snow. Ms. Cabot stated that it does well in the snow and is an all-purpose vehicle. Ms. Cabot stated that it is currently available, so that is why it is an emergency, so we do not lose it. There being no objections, the committee agreed 3-0 to recommend to City Council for the approval for the Department of Public Service to purchase a snowblower. Snow emergency street ordinance for in Louisiana between Front and Indiana. Jan Attorney stated that she had gotten complaints about the downtown area in the winter with the snow piles or ridges built up along parking spaces and sidewalks. Ms. Matroni suggested no parking be allowed on Louisiana between Front and Indiana, as well on the 2nd Street between Walnut and Elm between the hours of 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. during a level 2 or level 3 snow emergency, or if we get 2 inches of snow or more. She stated this will allow of the parking lots to be cleared properly and will alleviate much of the piles or ridges built up along the parking spaces and sidewalks. Ms. Matroni has talked about this with Rob Ross. Ms. Matroni had noted that there are issues for the plows as well as the fire department with people parking within the cul-de-sac sacks, and they are not supposed to. This will not be done for the winter, but Mr. Weber would like to know more about the enforcement component. Mr. Fuller likes the idea, especially with talking about accessibility in downtown rezoning. Ms. Materney added that social media education can come to play here and wanted to put this on everyone's radar. She stated that it pays to be proactive rather than reactive. Unrelated to the snow emergency, street ordinance, Ms. McClure mentioned charging stations and would like to see us get some charging stations along Louisiana Avenue if possible. They should not be designated areas, but would like to see charging stations with cords long enough to reach down 2 spots. She stated that Governor DeWine is giving away funds for electrical vehicle charging stations. Bidding documents. Ms. McCurry stated that she would like to amend 252 to determine the lowest and best bid for projects. Specifically, Section 1A, Mr. Fuller noted that he had introduced the draft ordinance to the Finance Committee. Ms. McCurry noted that they changed the threshold from $25,000 to excess 5 to 50,000. Ms. Cabot stated that they are using a variety of outside legal firms for a variety of topics at this time. Ms. McTurvey is fully in support of this. Ms. Cabot will be sure it is on the agenda for the next committee meeting. Other business, Adam Cassie, Executive Director of Keep Toledo Lucas County Beautiful, would like to continue and solidify Keep Perrysburg Beautiful. Ms. McTurvey is concerned about recycling and whether it really pays because of some of our recycling winds up going to the landfill. Mr. Casey stated that recycling works very well and that education what he recommends first. He stated that one of the biggest impacts Toledo saw was inspectors that would open the recycling totes and the city would not pick it up until the contaminants are removed. Mr. Weber is interested in Adam's program for events in our downtown area. Mr. Cassie,
Sounds right.
Cassie stated that they had 3 main elements, including beautification, litter reduction, and waste reduction. Ms. Cabot noted that a lot of what they see from farmers market is a few food truck refuse fills up the trash fast, such as styrofoam containers. Mr. Cassie stated that a lot of the food trucks will come in with all compostable products, which means they could put out bins to collect composting as well. Ms. Materney thanked Mr. Cassie for showing up and hopes to work together. Ms. Cabot stated that this would be a purchase agreement with Brontes Ford. We're talking about the little piece of legislation that will be coming before, well, one of the two pieces of legislation that will be coming before us today. Purchase agreement with Brontes Ford, Toledo, amount not to exceed $31,940 for the purchase of 1 Ford Bronco sport vehicle for the engineering division. Mr. Thomas added that the engineering division is in need of 1 new vehicle to replace a 2003 Ford Crown Victorian vehicle.
That's how old it is, yeah.
I know, right? Mr. Fuller asked if this is in the budget. Mr. Thomas confirmed that the purchase is in the 2022 budget. There being no objections, the purchase for the engineering division is being recommended to council. City council for the year. There being no further business, we will adjourn at 7:30. My first piece of legislation I'd like to introduce tonight is Resolution 102-2022. I'd like to introduce 102-2022 and move that the rules be suspended, allow for its reading and number and title only, and dispense with the second and third readings.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Materney?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Resolution 102-2022, a resolution authorizing the purchase agreement with Brandy's Ford Toledo in an amount not to exceed $31,940 for the purchase of 1 2022 Ford Bronco sport vehicle for the Perrysburg Engineering Division and declaring an emergency.
I move that resolution 102-2022 be passed in emergency measure.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Van Huzen?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Materney?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Oh, I'm in second letter. The second piece of legislation I'd like to introduce tonight is Resolution 103-2022. I move that the rules be suspended, allow allowed for 3 reading and title only to dispense with second, third reading.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Matroni?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Resolution 103, 2022, authorizing an agreement with Tetra Tech and an amount not to exceed $154,000 for engineering services for a multi-use path along Dixie Highway and west-south boundary.
I move that resolution 103-2022 be passed.
Second.
Discussion?
Just real quick. So this is going in the construction phase of this. This is 2025.
It's either 2025 or 2026, depending on the funding cycle at TMCOG.
Okay, and this is just like the design.
This is
engineering
actually the
component?
design engineering component.
Okay, and I just want to, the shelf life for these designs, I imagine are pretty much,
This shelf life is forever.
okay, I just wanted to,
Pass it now, it also likely gets done sooner.
gotcha.
It's possible we could jump up in the funding cycle if another entity was funding in an earlier year is unable to construct a job. If we're ready to go, shovel ready, so to speak, we can jump along.
Gotcha, so if we're budgeted already.
Yes.
Okay, perfect, that's my question.
Roll call?
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Matroni?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen?
Yes.
Our next meeting is January 25th.
You have one more.
Oh, I did?
Good.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's coming in this week.
I guess I'm already home. I missed that one. I would like to introduce resolution 104-2022 and move the rules, and move that the rules be suspended, allowed for its reading by number and title only, and dispense with second, third readings.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Matroni?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Resolution 104, 2022, a resolution authorizing a purchase agreement with John Deere Company in an amount not to exceed $44,594.74 for the purchase of a John Deere tractor for the Department of Public Service and declaring an emergency.
I move that resolution 104-2022 be passed as an emergency measure.
Second. Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Matroni?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
As I said, next meeting is January 25th at 6:30. Happy birthday and also Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you. Any other business come before this council? If not, any motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Any, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we're adjourned.